Apple, the company that built an empire on doing everything themselves, just handed over the keys to Siri to their biggest competitor. So think about that for a second. The company that refused to let anyone else control anything in their ecosystem just wrote Google a check for potentially $5 billion to power their AI assistant. Why would the most control-obsessive company in tech history suddenly outsource the most important technology in the next decade? So if I tell you, why? Because they've already lost, and that's the reason why. And this is the deal. It's not a partnership, it's a surrender. After watching tech giants rise and fall for 25 years, I can tell you this is exactly how slow corporate death begins. And today I'm going to show you why Apple is following the same path IBM took decades ago and going to a creative death. Let's talk about this today. Welcome to Startup Hack. I'm Spencer, and here at Startup Hack, we love to build custom software solutions for companies. With a decade of executive leadership as a fractional CTO and 25 years in software development, I've mastered transforming tech teams and products. All right, so we just talked about Apple's massive Gemini deal with Google. And look, I get it on the surface. This sounds like a smart business. It sounds like a buy versus build. Partner with the best, give customers what they want, right? But peel back the layers and you'll see that this is a company in crisis making short-term decisions that will cause long-term devastation. Apple had years to figure this out. How long ago did they start Siri? They had the money, the talent, the data. They totally blew it. Let me break down exactly why this deal marks the beginning of Apple's decline. And hey, if you've got thoughts on this, because I'm sure you do, I totally want to hear it. Drop a comment down below. Comments are my favorite thing. I seriously read all of them, and it's the best compliment you can give me. Now, Apple waited way too long and they got caught flat-footed. While OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic were racing to build foundational models, Apple was doing what exactly? Making their phone 0.0001% lighter. They had a massive head start with Siri back in 2011. They literally pioneered voice assistants, and then they just let it sit there for over a decade. Reports show that Apple lost at least 15 key AI researchers and competitors in recent years, bleeding talent while leadership apparently didn't see the urgency. The company, sitting on the largest cash pile in corporate history, somehow couldn't figure out how to compete in the most important technology race of our lifetime. So according to recent reports, Apple explored deals with OpenAI and even considered building their own models before essentially giving up and going to Google. When a trillion-dollar company with unlimited resources decides to outsource core technology, that's not strategic, it's panic. Now, this deal proves that Apple has no real AI strategy. Apple Intelligence, as they called it, was supposed to be their answer to the ChatGPT Gemini, but it landed with a terrible thud. Buggy summaries, limited features, and embarrassingly behind competitors. The decision to partner with Google for Gemini isn't a compliment to Apple Intelligence. It's an admission that Apple Intelligence can't stand on its own. So think about it. When has Apple ever relied on a competitor for a core feature? They built their own chips, their own operating systems, their own everything. This deal reportedly could reach $5 billion annually. That's not pocket change. This is a fundamental dependency on a company that they've competed with for decades. Remember the war between Android and Apple? Yeah, now Apple just buddied and gave some of the biggest engine to Gemini. So Apple claims that they'll fine-tune Gemini independently, but let's be real. You can't put lipstick on a pig. It's still Google's pig. After 25 years watching companies navigate technology shifts, I can tell you that the company without clear strategies don't suddenly find themselves. They lose to companies that do. Now, this is a short-term fix and a long-term catastrophe. Sure, this deal gives Apple customers access to better AI capabilities right now, but at what cost Apple's future? Every user has a great experience with Gemini on their iPhone is actually building loyalty to Google, not to Apple. Apple's essentially training their own customers to appreciate and depend on a company's competitor technology. When the contract comes up for renewal, who has the leverage? The company that built the AI everyone loves or the company that just provides the hardware? This is the classic renting versus owning problem. Apple is renting Google's intelligence instead of building their own, and renters always lose long term. The short-term applause from customers will turn into long-term regret when Apple realizes they have handed Google the keys of their ecosystem. Now, Apple is totally following IBM's playbook here, and this is going to end with a slow decline to death or creative death. IBM was once the most dominant technology company on the planet. Then they got comfortable, stopped innovating, and slowly faded into enterprise irrelevance. The pattern is always the same. Market leader gets fat and happy, misses major technology shift, tries to partner their way out of the trouble, loses control of their destiny. Apple's obsession with service revenue and squeezing every dollar from existing customers has distracted them from building the next generation of technology. When your main innovation is slightly better camera and a new shade of titanium, you're not a technology leader anymore. You're a luxury goods company. IBM didn't collapse overnight. They had a long, slow, painful decline while watching younger, hungrier companies eat their lunch. I've watched this movie before, and I'm watching Apple queue up the exact same script. So there's a data problem that nobody's talking about here, right? Because what's really interesting here is that where does all the Siri data go now that Google's powering the intelligence behind it? Apple has built their entire brand on privacy, telling customers for years that their data stayed on the device and isn't used to train AI models. Now that they're routing queries through Google Gemini, the same Google whose entire business model is built on monetizing user data. Yes, Apple claims the data will be anonymized and protected, but we've heard these promises before from every single tech company. Remember how Google used to say on the wall, "Do no evil," and then that slowly went away? The cognitive dissonance here is wild. Apple runs ads attacking Google for privacy violations, then hands Google direct access to all of their users' data. This deal undermines Apple's core privacy message and gives ammunition to every competitor who wants to call out Apple's hypocrisy. Now, Google now has leverage Apple can't even control. By becoming dependent on Gemini, Apple has given Google something Google has wanted for decades: direct influence over the iPhone experience. What happened when Google wants to renegotiate terms? Apple either pays up or loses the AI features their customers now expect. Google already gets paid billions to be the default search engine on Safari. Now they're going to get paid to power Siri too. Apple's increasingly becoming a distribution channel for Google services rather than an independent technology company. They're literally just becoming the car that you're going to drive on the highway. The car is the iPhone. The highway is the data you're handing to Google. The company that once told Google to take a hike over Maps is now writing $1 billion check for AI because they have no alternative. When you depend on your competitor for a core capability, you're not partners, you're hostage. Now, if your company has systems that aren't connected, reach out to us, because here at Startup Hack, our specialty is connecting systems to help your company work to maximum efficiency. Unlike Apple, we believe in building integrated solutions you control. So check out startuphack.com and we'd love to help you out. Now, there's been a huge talent exodus, and this is telling the real story at Apple. Apple's reportedly lost at least 5 senior AI researchers to competitors in recent years. People don't leave winning teams. When your top AI talent is jumping ship to Google, OpenAI, and Anthropic, that tells you everything you need to know about where the real innovation lies. Apple's secretive culture that once protected breakthrough products is now a liability. Top AI researchers want to publish, share, and build reputations. The best AI engineers in the world want to work on models that millions of people use and talk about. And right now, that is not Siri. You can't buy your way out of a talent problem by partnering. You need to build an organization that attracts and retains elite engineers. This Gemini deal is a symptom of a talent crisis, not a solution to it. Now, Apple's walled garden is getting weaker. The whole point of Apple's ecosystem was that everything worked together seamlessly because Apple controlled everything. Now Siri is powered by Google, search is powered by Google, and increasingly the Apple experience is just a pretty shell with some nice hardware. Every crack in the walled garden gives competitors an opportunity to pry it open further. If Google is providing the intelligence, why does the average consumer need to pay Apple premium prices for hardware? The value proposition of "it just works" falls apart when it is actually a patchwork of third-party services behind the Apple logo. Apple built an empire on vertical integrations. This deal is the beginning of vertical disintegration. Now, the timing couldn't even be worse for Apple. AI is rapidly becoming the defining feature that sells phones, laptops, and services. And Apple just admitted that they cannot compete. Samsung is pushing Galaxy AI hard. Google has Gemini integrated across Pixel devices, and Microsoft has Copilot everywhere. Apple's entering this critical battle armed with their competitors' technology that everyone else already has access to. The smartphone market is maturing and saturating. AI assistants are one of the few areas that can drive differentiation and upgrades. By conceding AI to Google, Apple's essentially given up on the most important battleground for the next decade. So in my 25 years of watching technology shifts, I've never seen a market leader voluntarily surrender a key competitive advantage this desperately. Now, what this means for developers in the app ecosystem. Apple developer ecosystem has always been about deep integration with Apple services and capabilities. If Gemini becomes the intelligence layer, then developers may start building for Gemini first and Apple second. The APIs, the capabilities, the features that drive app innovation will increasingly come from Google, not from Apple. Why would a developer invest heavily in Siri kit if the real intelligence is coming from Google API that can be accessed anywhere? Now, Apple's WWDC has become less exciting every year. This deal suggests that even Apple doesn't believe their own roadmap anymore. The App Store remains a cash cow, but the strategic moat around it is shrinking every time Apple outsources core capabilities. So the stock market doesn't see what's coming. Investors cheered this deal because it gives Apple customers better AI features immediately. Classic short-term thinking like Wall Street. The market is valuing Apple like an innovation company, but this deal proves that they're becoming an integration company. Integration companies don't command premium valuations. They eventually get squeezed by the partners they depend on. Remember when Nokia was the undisputed leader in mobile phones? They also made deals and partnerships to catch up on smartphones. The market has a terrible track record at identifying slow motion disruption until it's painfully obvious. So I'd be very nervous holding Apple stock long term. I am not an Apple stockholder, in case you can't tell, because their strategy right now is to rent innovation from competitors. What Apple would need to do is actually to compete, and they have the money and the resources to do it, so I don't understand. Apple needs to acquire AI talent aggressively, not just hire, but buy entire teams through acquisitions like they did with the chip teams. I think them not picking up some of these open source groups was a huge miss in a lot of different ways. Apple flirted with buying Mistral last year. They should have absolutely done it. They should have bought Mistral and 3 others. They should have bought half of the open source world and maybe even gone out and bought Anthropic. They should have been that bullish on going after something like this because they're sitting on a war chest and this is going to prove to be a missed opportunity. They need to change their culture to embrace more open AI research instead of hiding everything behind secrecy. They need to invest billions more in foundation model development, not just fine-tuning another person's model. They need to leverage their unique advantages, on-device processing, privacy, seamless hardware integration for AI that competitors can't match. They need leadership that actually understands AI as an existential priority, not just another feature to add to the spec sheets. See, here at Startup Hack, even we're learning to build AI into our software that we're building for clients. Every single one of our clients right now wants us to be building AI for them, and we are. But here's the hard truth. Everything I listed takes years, and their competitors are not going to stop, and they're not going to slow down for Apple to wait for Apple to catch up. So if Apple doesn't get on this boat, that boat is going to leave the dock, and they're going to be left holding their competitors' rope. So what do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think Apple's just the greatest and I'm wrong? Love to hear your perspective. Make sure you leave a comment down below and make sure you like and subscribe. Here at Startup Hack, we love to build custom software solutions for companies. So reach out if we can help. Check out startuphack.com and here's some great information about our services.
Hi, I'm Spencer, a fractional CTO. With over a decade of executive leadership and 25 years in software development, I've transformed technology teams and products for businesses just like yours. As your fractional CTO, you get the strategic guidance of a seasoned technology executive without the full-time commitment. Perfect for companies ready to leverage cutting-edge technology without expanding headcounts. My team at Startup Hack has already built advanced AI agents for small and medium businesses, automating complex workflows and delivering advanced ROI to human workflows. We specialize in creating custom software that connects your systems into a single coherent technology ecosystem. Our development approach focuses on tangible business outcomes. For one client, we developed AI-powered workflows that cut days off of human processes. For another company, by connecting multiple systems, we reduced processing time to increase their ROI by over 75%. We don't just write code, we architect solutions that scale. Whether you need cloud system architecture, data integration between legacy systems, or custom AI agents that automate your unique business processes, my team delivers results that exceed your expectations. Having led technology for a lot of companies and launched 7 successful brands of my own, I bring battle-tested expertise to your business challenges. Our specialty is turning technological complexity into business advantage. So if you're ready to harness the power of AI and custom software to drive your business forward, let's connect. Together, we'll build technology that doesn't just solve today's problems, it positions you for tomorrow's opportunities. Technology leadership, decades of experience, AI powered. Reach out today and we can help you. Check out startuphack.com/